Okay, in this video, I'm going to explain Dutch sentence structure. A headache for many students. Why? Because it's so different from English. All right, now let's take a look at English. In English, one of the most important things, and actually only things that you need to remember is keep your verbs together. In Dutch, that is different. Now, when we talk about sentences, or better, sentence structure, we need to look at two different ways. Simple sentences or complex sentences. All right, now, the simple sentence that we are going to use today is this one. Ik moet vandaag met een nieuwe collega op kantoor werken. This is a simple sentence structure because there's only one structure. Sure, it can be long or it can be very short. In itself, there's no difference. A complex sentence structure is where I have two or even more structures. For example, ik kan vandaag niet thuis komen eten, omdat ik op kantoor moet werken. Two structures. How do they work? Let's find out. Okay, so how do these structures work? Well, we have three rules and three structures. Let's take a look at the first rule. The first rule is, the opposite of English. Remember, I just said that in English, keep your verbs together, everything else, as you please. In Dutch, no, it's the opposite. What do we need to do? If a sentence has two or more verbs, my action is there, at the end of the sentence. Indeed, over there, at the end. And yes, in most occasions, we put it in infinitive. Remember the sentence that I gave you earlier? Ik moet vandaag met een nieuwe collega op kantoor werken. Werken, that's my action. It's at the end of the sentence. Sure, keep in mind, sometimes you might have a past participle over here. But don't worry, it's the same rule, same explanation. The action is over there. All right, that was rule number one. Easy, right? And by the way, it explains why Dutch people are so polite. Very easy to understand. We need to wait until, you have said everything. Otherwise, we have no idea. Oh, don't get me wrong. We're not going to be polite between sentences. We will interrupt the living daylights out of you. But now, rule number two. Rule number two is even more important. Why? Because it explains the exact sequence in a sentence. What does it mean? Yes, that a Dutch sentence is rigid. The sequence is always the same. What's that sequence? Time, manner, place. Let's go back to that sentence. Ik moet vandaag, time, met een nieuwe collega, manner, op kantoor, place, werken. See, time, manner, place. It can never, ever be in a different order. You cannot say, ik moet op kantoor vandaag met een nieuwe collega werken. Not a possibility. Ik moet met een nieuwe collega vandaag op kantoor werken. Not an option. It is rigid. Always. Time, manner, place. All right. We're up to rule number three. A rule that is very important. it talks about inversion. Now, in English, we use inversion when we have a question. Do you know what time it is? See, the verb before the subject. Now, in Dutch, yes, we use inversion when we have a question. But even more important, we use inversion structures, the verb before the subject, when we want to emphasize something. Take a look. Ik moet vandaag met een nieuwe collega op kantoor werken. Normal structure. Ik. That is important. But take a look what happens now. Vandaag moet ik met een nieuwe collega op kantoor werken. I made vandaag, today, more important than other parts of the sentence. What did I need to do? Inversion. Moet ik. Now, I can do the same thing with manner or place. Imagine if I say something like this. Misschien moet ik vandaag met een nieuwe collega op kantoor werken. Misschien, maybe, I put in front of the sentence and make that the emphasis. Op kantoor moet ik vandaag misschien met een nieuwe collega werken. All of a sudden, at the office becomes a burden as more important. That's what we do. Emphasis, making it an inversion. In English, we don't do that. In English, it's just today, comma, I must work with a new colleague at the office. That's how we do it in English. In Dutch, no, inversion. Okay, those were the 3 rules. Now, let's take a look at those structures, shall we? Okay, 2 of them we already know. Why? Because they are exactly the same as in English. A normal structure, which is subject, verb, complement. Simple. Second one, inversion. Verb, subject, complement. Exactly like we just saw. But in Dutch, we have a third structure. That structure is a little bit more complicated, but the rules are simple. Oh, and don't forget what we started with, that yes, these rules are for each structure. They include this third structure. Now, what is this third structure? It's called bijzin. Bijzin literally means sentence with or sentence next to. Additional sentence. And yes, that's what it is, an additional sentence. Now, before I explain exactly how that works, you need to keep in mind that this structure can never ever go alone. It needs to be with your main idea. This is an extra idea. What is so difficult about it? Well, it doesn't exist in English, or even in German, or in French, or in Spanish, or in Italian. It doesn't exist. How does it work? It is a structure where I start with my subject, then a complement, and all my verbs, yes, there, all the way at the end. All of them. That is the difficult part. Wow, okay, that was intense, wasn't it? Now, let's take a look at how does this bijzin work? Okay, at the beginning, I've given you the sentence, ik kan vandaag niet thuis komen eten, omdat ik op kantoor moet werken. Now, let's analyze the first part. Ik kan vandaag niet thuis komen eten. Alright, rule number 1 said that, yes, when I have 2 or more verbs, the action is over there, at the end. Oh yeah, an infinitive. So in this sentence, I have three verbs. The most important one, the action eaten. It's at the end of the sentence, right? Way over there. And then I have the other one, kommen. Oh, yeah, that makes it to come to eat. Easy peasy. Oh, yeah. And then at the beginning, I had that other one, the modal verb, kan. Ik kan komen eten. I have the ability to come to eat. Exactly. Vandaag is time. Thuis is place. Oh my God, remember two words. Indeed, time before place. But this is about that second sentence. Omdat ik op kantoor moet werken. Notice that I start with the complement. Ik. Then I have the complement, which is op kantoor. Exactly, at the office. And all my verbs at the end, right? Moet werken. Notice that again, my action is last, werken. And before it, I have the obligation, moet. This is how the bijzin works. Now the next question, yeah, when do we use this bijzin? Right. Let me explain. So, when do we use this treacherous structure, bijzin? Well, yeah, in many occasions. But I will give you three examples of when we use it most. Number one, conditional sentences. A conditional sentence is always a sentence that you add to a main idea. It gives additional information. Take a look. For example, in English, we say, I will go to the beach. Oh, if the weather is nice. If the weather is nice is a condition. In Dutch, we would say, ik ga naar het strand als het mooi weer is. That is my bed. So conditional sentences take a bijzin. Now, the example that I gave earlier. Omdat ik op kantoor moet werken. That is the second reason to use a bijzin. Any sentence that starts with a word that contains dat. Dat, omdat, voordat, nadat. All these words, what do? They let the listener know that I'm going to give an explanation, additional information. Easy, right? I know. And the third one is when I have a question word, but it doesn't make a question. In English, we do the same thing. Think of this sentence. I don't know why he has a llama in his garden. Why is the question word. But in English, we just follow with a normal sentence. In Dutch, it sounds like this. Ik weet niet waarom hij een lama in zijn tuin heeft. The verb at the end. Those are the three most used reasons for this bijzin. As you can see, still very easy, right? Okay, relax. We're getting there. So the only thing missing now is obviously any real language has them exceptions. And yes, the Dutch language has exceptions to these rules. Otherwise, it would be a fake language. So, what are the exceptions? Actually, just 4 words. Want, maar, en dus. These words we call linking words. They link ideas. But what they do is they link main sentences. That means that, yes, you get one sentence, that's an idea, and another sentence, that's an idea, and they can be separate. Why are these exceptions? Because these four words, want, maar, and dus, they can never, ever get a bijzin after them. Let me give you a few examples. Ik ga naar de bakker en ik ga naar de markt. Or, ik ga naar de bakker, want ik heb brood nodig. Ik ga naar de bakker, maar ik ga niet naar de markt. See? Normal sentences. But remember rule number 3, that when I put an emphasis before the sentence, I need an inversion. With these 4 words, you still need to do that. So, careful. Take a look. Ik ga naar de bakker en morgen ga ik naar de markt. Morgen, time before the sentence, inversion. Oh yeah, and like this. Ik ga naar de bakker, maar misschien heeft hij geen croissants. Misschien. Manner before the sentence. Inversion. How about this one? Ik ga naar de bakker, want op de markt hebben ze geen brood. Op de markt. Place. Before the sentence. Inversion. All that is sentence structure. As you can see, so easy. Even I can do this. Now, don't forget, like, subscribe, and my page.